Horses really don't care what we're feeling on the inside. What they want to know is, are we aware of what we're feeling on the inside? Welcome to Ripples of Change, where we explore how presence and self-awareness shape leadership. So what I'd love to start with is I'd love to hear more about your coaching with horses, and I'm sure our listeners will be fascinated too. Over to you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Abby. Coaching with horses, it's a concept that has actually been around longer than it might seem possible, about 30 years. And Dan and I stumbled into it in 2018, actually. This was 2 years after we had bought a brand new, beautiful horse. And we learned months after getting her that she could not be ridden, that she had a deformed spine. That meant she could not carry weight. And yet she was only 9 years old. And so I spent quite a bit of time talking to the veterinarians and others about what do I do with this horse that can't be ridden? And understand that normal culture with horses is, what purpose do they serve for us? In my case, it was, can I ride you? And others, it might be, can you pull my buggy? Or can I play polo with you? But humans over the thousands of years have determined what a horse is capable of doing. So here we were in a situation where she could not be ridden. Now what? She was already in the family. We didn't want to lose her or give her away or sell her or anything. So we had to patiently wait. And then in late 2018, 2 years after we discovered Mesa's problems, someone said, well, have you heard of coaching with horses? And we hadn't. And so I looked into it and I said, all right, this could be right up Mesa's alley. This sounds perfect. And the certification program was just under 2 years long. So it was a really comprehensive program. We had to do a lot of practice sessions coaching with horses. We would take turns. Go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, I'd love if you could tell us more about what is the program? What are you doing when you bring people to work with the horses? I mean,
Yeah,
I appreciate the history and people will want to hear about that.
yep, absolutely. So we do sessions primarily one-on-one. When they come to us, the first thing we know is they've completed a questionnaire letting us know mostly if they've had any trauma with horses. And then we spend the first hour and a half really one-on-one with the human, not with the horse, with the human.
Hmm.
We talk with them about what is it that horses can teach us and how do they teach us and what do they notice about us and then reflect back to us so we can learn from them. And we go through different exercises, including a body scan. This is a 30-minute exercise, eyes closed, where we encourage the client to slowly scan their body and notice what shows up. Why? Because horses can best relate to us when we are in our body and not in our thinking mind.
Mm.
So by doing the body scan, tell me what your heart space feels like. Tell me what your arm feels like. What do you notice there? Is there a sensation? Is there a color? And we go thoroughly down that. When we help someone, when someone is really able to get into their body and out of their head, their connection with the horse occurs much quicker. Now, that's not we're not trying to say if you can't do that, you're going to fail at this, at that. There's nothing like that. But when they begin their session with the horse and the human link up, and the horse does a very quick assessment. And they decide, first of all, with where they place their body. Do I want to be next to this human or do I need to be further away? Are they coming across as a predator, which is what humans are to horses, or are they coming across as a partner? And when we coach, we watch the horse's behavior. The human is talking about what they'd like to get from the session, and we navigate this dance between the horse and the human.
Mm-hmm.
When the human is really in their body and really open to the experience, the horses can often become very playful. They see this as an opportunity to come in. And again, they're mirroring the human. So the human can have a moment of, well, look, the horse doesn't want to be with me. Well, actually, no, the horse is picking up on your energy.
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah.
So that's it in short.
That's lovely. So may I ask Dan, can I shift this to Dan? You had told me a story about your first experience with the horse. So as we're talking about the horse's ability to sense, as Lisa was saying, to sense what's going on with you, can you talk about your first experience of being with the horses?
My first experience would, I think, scare most people, and I was a little scared myself. Lisa signed on for this 18-month or 2-year program. I signed on for a 3-day teaser course, the dance of authenticity, I think. And we did body scans, getting out of our head into our bodies, like Lisa described. And then, like she just described, the time was ready for a one-on-one session with the horse. I chose a horse that was a large, to me, a wild animal. Uh, but our trainer gave a lot of space for me to drop into my body, and it was time for a one-on-one session in a round pen with a horse, an enclosed round pen. And I got into the round pen with this large animal, and to my surprise, he began to approach me. I knew how to create space for myself, and I just stopped him, and then I approached him and spent a few moments just talking about what it was like to stand next to this large 1,200-pound animal. This is my first exposure with a horse ever. And I just talked about how beautiful he was. And as I talked, I began to relax. He relaxed. And then I walked away. I walked over to the other side of this round pen. And to my surprise, he followed me and came up behind me and put his head on my shoulder. And I broke down and wept.
Hmm.
And I don't know why. I was just overcome with how magnificent the experience was. And then he lifted his head and put it on my other shoulder, and it was like I was being knighted into some other stage of my life. And this dance went on for about 40 minutes. I couldn't speak. I was in tears, and even afterwards, we debrief our experience, much like Lisa and I do with our clients. And I still couldn't talk. Every time I began to describe what it was like to be with this horse, I couldn't speak. That was my introduction,
Uh-huh.
and so
So,
I signed on for the whole 18-month or 2-month certification program as well,
yeah,
and since then we've been working with our clients in much the same way that I was worked with
yeah.
in training.
What an amazing, powerful, deeply, deeply moving story. I mean, I feel
Oh,
chills, just
yeah.
chills going up my back. Such a beautiful story. So what's so interesting about that is that it sounds like you got feedback from the horse. And I'm curious because we're always talking about how we develop ourselves by getting feedback from human beings. We don't talk about animals. But I'm curious, Dan, if you could share would you be willing to share what you learned about yourself in this encounter?
Mm. Yeah, my my sense is that horses really don't care what we're feeling on the inside. What they want to know is, are we aware of what we're feeling on the inside? If we are behaving in ways that are consistent with our feelings, they're okay with that, no matter what the feeling is. If we're pretending to be something other than what's going on, they want nothing to do with us. That's where we become, like Lisa was saying, predators to them. So for me, I learned that it was important to come clean. Seriously, come clean. I'm afraid. I'm intimidated. I don't know what to do here. I'm uncertain. I have no experience with you. What am I? If I can come clean and own my own experience, the horse knows that he can join up with me. He can be partners with me. That was what I learned and what I continue to learn. Even today, we will be going down to see the horses after this meeting. And I have a ritual of just dropping into my body before I enter the pasture. I drop into my body and say, "What? Okay, so what's happening here today? What's going on with me? How much of it am I aware of?" And then I bring that to the horse when I meet them this afternoon. Here's what's happening in me. Glad to be with you. Just so you know, I've had this blah blah blah. And so it's coming clean, but on a whole other level than I was aware of before. I
Mm.
was always a proponent of transparency and authenticity. I mean, who wouldn't at least conceptually agree with that? But with the horses, that's a much deeper uh, piece of work.
Yes. Well, that's such a beautiful framing. And because we're always talking in our leadership development workshops and our coaching about coming clean
Yeah.
and being vulnerable and expressing what's really going on for you, which is how you create connection with
Yes.
other people. I keep saying
Yeah.
other people because that's the work that we mostly do. And in some ways, it sounds like even safer to do this with a horse than with a human being. Like that
Yeah.
might be right? A step
Mhm.
towards. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that beautiful story. So to both of you, I have a question, which is, how does the work that you do with the horses help create the world you're trying to create?
Mm.
Lisa, can you make up something in response to that?
You know, what I will say really comes from our experience, Abby, working with groups over time. And that is that the more that the individual or the group come in ready to completely connect with the horse, heart to heart, because that's really where we want the connection, is from the human heart to the horse heart. And when we see people able to do that time and time again, they get into the conversation Dan was describing almost instantaneously. And they have a walk with the horse, or they lead the horse through an obstacle course. All that time, they may or may not be saying anything, but they come out of it now with new insights, new decisions about how they want to go into the world, and they begin to see what's being offered to them from the horse. So to me, that's where this real substantive change is happening, is that they don't have to, one thing, they don't have to report to us what they're going to do with it. We really prefer that they stay with that experience, process it slowly. But sure enough, when we see them again, they're at a deeper place.
Mhm. Thank you for,
So,
yeah, go
vul-
ahead.
vulnerability, trust, and the ability to join up with or partner with the horse. Those are key ingredients of everything we do with horses when we're working with individuals or with teams. And those three things are immediately um, requirements of really good, effective leadership in organizations: vulnerability, trust, and the ability to partner up with and collaborate with and join up with others.
Hmm.
And we know at this point that how they do that with a horse is how they do it.
Yeah.
Um, we've had leaders basically trying to drag a horse across an arena, and the horse doesn't want to go, and the horse will not move.
Right.
So if control is your only option, you're going to be out of luck real soon. You've got
I,
to have you've got to have another way. And what we find is if we can have people drop into their bodies and just talk about what's happening experientially in them, they will immediately have a partner with the horse. And frankly, most people at work are waiting for our leaders to do the same thing, to
mm,
show up as humans, not as control people, and own up to what's happening in them, what's really going on, and then we can do our work, and then we can get busy with the task or the initiatives that we're trying to do.
yeah, right.
But leaving out the person or assuming that what's going on in me is irrelevant, um, that will get you into a lot of trouble with a horse.
I'm sorry, assuming that what's going on in me is irrelevant.
Yeah.
And how does that play out in a team or an organization?
Well, and at least in my coaching, maybe same with you, um, organizations tend to reward people for getting stuff done, and they tend to ignore or at least reduce the importance of what's actually happening in the leader. And so we have leaders trying to do things with their teams when really what's going on in them is completely inconsistent with what they're trying to do.
Hmm.
I talk about collaboration, but secretly I want to be the smartest guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good luck with that. A horse will have nothing to do with you until you own up with, I'm feeling stupid. I really wanted to be the smart guy here, and frankly, I don't know anything.
Right.
That's the vulnerability in real time. Um, and if leaders can find a way of doing that in their own style, then it's easier for people to partner with them. Otherwise,
Yes.
they end up in some ways feeling like predators to their own team.
Mm.
We don't dare say what we really think because the bosses are going to be pissed
Right.
off with us.
So beautifully put, which is for the leader to be in touch with hers or her own internal landscape. So you say you want to collaborate, but you actually want to control things.
Yes, right.
And I think there's a corollary, which is the leader will get more done if they understand what's going on internally for their team members.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I had this image, Dan, of this person trying to pull the person is, no, I'm not going, which is a beautiful sort of embodiment of this idea that you
Yeah.
cannot control people that way.
Right. And even if you could get the horse to move, the amount of energy that you're spending
Mm.
trying to get a horse to move 1 foot is ridiculous.
You
And
know,
we've had in those same moments, we've had other people on the same team connect with that same horse and walk through an obstacle course with no effort at all,
Mm-hmm.
fully engaged with each other, full partners.
Yeah.
and
Lisa?
I will just add to that story, Abby, that this what we're talking about right now was a group of CEOs that came to work with us. There were, I think, 16 of them. And Dan and I split up, and because we have 2 horses, and so we each had 8. And in my group, which was with our mare Mesa, the first 4 CEOs couldn't get her to move because they were trying to use force. They were trying to show off in front of their peers. And then the 5th person was a younger CEO. And I said to him, look, here's what Mesa would like to hear. She'd like to hear that she's very, very beautiful. She would also like to know if you have children. Do you have children? He said, yes, I do. I have 4. I said, well, let her know how much you love children.
Mm.
She loves them too.
Mm.
He began, and that's what Dan's talking about. He and Mesa were shoulder to shoulder all the way down the obstacle course.
Lovely. Lovely. I imagine, sorry, were you done?
Yes.
Well, these are such fun stories to hear. And I imagine that it must be very powerful for team members or the other CEOs to see each other. And when you see
Oh, yeah.
that, like the horse is not doing what you're asking for, I mean, I'm laughing vicariously because I
Right.
could imagine what it's like. And then you see one person just walk up and gently sort of talk to the horse and just say how much you love, how beautiful they are.
Yeah.
And the horse goes along, and the other people are like, what's this person doing?
Yeah.
Yes.
What are they doing that I'm not doing?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So many layers of learning here and learning about getting feedback and learning how your presence is, how you come across, and somebody's giving you immediate feedback. The 1,200-pound horse is giving you feedback. So I'm curious where you each learned your agency. What did you learn about your ability to affect change in this way?
Mm.
Mm.
You want to go first, or you want me to?
No, why don't you?
My very first experience, frankly, I've never been asked that question before, Abby, so I really spent some time thinking about this. But my very first experience was as a young guy who had just left for college. Um, I had a very good friend in the neighborhood who was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All of guys in the neighborhood had motorcycles, and we rode. And frankly, I've had a motorcycle for 60 years. But our friend died, and I had to decide whether I wanted to. I needed to be there. stay where you are. We got enough people here. But I knew I needed to be there. So I found a way to get home. I was out of state. And I walked into this house with grieving parents and neighbors and kids. And it was as if I walked through some threshold. I suddenly knew how to minister to people in grief and how to meet people in this terrible moment. I actually could watch myself ministering. I was saying things without any awareness of where these things in me were coming from. This went on all night. And even years later, people talk about that night and what it was like to have me in the room. Um, that was my very first experience. And then I sort of lost it. I got busy with my life and did other things for a number of years before finding my own way back into this deeper work with people, and mostly people in transitions of one sort or another.
Yeah. Such a beautiful story, Dan. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to say to our viewers that once in a while there seems to be a lag on the audio and video. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything you can do on your end, but for the viewers, if you're experiencing that, just know that we're seeing that and we're going to carry on here. Hopefully you can hear the great stories. So Lisa, did you want to share your story?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I knew in high school that I wanted to be a healthcare administrator. And that's kind of odd to hear from a 17-year-old, but that's what I knew I was here to do. And um, as I found my way into healthcare as a nurse, it didn't take long before I got into management because that's what I wanted. But what really developed my agency, I believe, was two things. One was my core passion for the mission of the organization, which was to help those who are poor, those with disabilities. That was a real connection for me. The hospital system I was in did not emphasize making money. So that was another big connection for me. But as I grew as a leader and I kept taking larger and larger responsibility positions and worked with groups, and eventually in my last work, I had 150 staff.
She's
And
ultimately a chief nursing officer. That's where she was final role.
yeah, and really what I found was I would meet with my leaders every week for an hour each, just to hear them talk about their own development. And that was really what made my heart happy,
Very
was to
nice.
hear them talk about, we would always say, what went well, what didn't go well,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do differently? And so that's kind of like Dan. Oh, I hope our dog might bark right now. So I'm going to end right there and go on mute.
I think
Can you mute?
you're not on mute yet, kid.
Okay, Zeus, it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, I wonder if I can I do that? Dan, can you speak? I tried to mute her. Can you speak for me?
Can
Okay,
you hear
so
me?
I muted you, Lisa. When you're ready again, just remind me and I'll unmute you.
Oh, I'm back.
You're good. Okay, let me get that back. Very good. So so very interesting. So Lisa, in your case, it was working with these 150 leaders and having these one-on-one conversations, which sounds like they were very impactful for them and for you.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan, this experience, this amazing experience where you went and you discovered that you had some gift to help people work through their grief, which you sounds like you didn't know you had that beforehand.
Right, right.
What an amazing thing to discover. So can we circle back, Dan? I I don't want to make this into a therapy session, but I'm just curious, and you share what you're comfortable with, which is the experience you had with the horse where you just burst into tears. Whether that was something about discovering something within yourself, feeling seen and felt somehow, and whether there was some grief in that.
Hmm. That's a beautiful question.
That's beautiful.
I think for for many years I was like that character, I believe, in a James Joyce novel, who was described as having lived a short distance from his body. I lived in my head. So
Oh,
when the horse approached me like that, and it's happened several times since then, um, it it reminded me of how much there was happening in my body that I had no awareness of, that I had to come home to myself first. And so that was, many years of work, and continues to be a discipline of practice, coming home, getting out of my head, listening to what's happening in myself, what mental noise is going on, and just owning all of that, and then showing up as I am, um, with the horse or with a team of people, and and bringing all of that to bear. It's one thing to say, bring your full self forward in whatever you do. Great idea. What happens when I'm full of anger and rage? Then what? What do I do with that? Or
yeah,
fear? Can I own that as well and find a way to bring even that much to bear in my work?
lovely.
A good friend once said that when we're born into a 100-room mansion, and over the course of our early years, school and college, one by one, those rooms are closed off. So by the time we hit adulthood, we're living in a 3-room apartment. Um, and so her metaphor is that our work is to open up those doors again,
Hmm.
to find out what's behind those doors, and to show up as a 100-room mansion again and bring all of that to bear. That's a learning curve. And horses, more than anything else I've discovered, horses are great teachers at how to do that, because to work with them immediately requires vulnerability, inner transparency, authenticity. You've got to be willing to face your uncertainty and trust, own up to your fear. I mean, these are all great leadership competencies,
Yes.
and the horse evokes all of that stuff standing next to you.
Yep.
And even we live in a large equine community here, and even those who have experience riding horses, when we ask them to not ride, we don't do any riding in our program, and instead to join the horse as if it were a sentient being.
Hmm.
Suddenly, now they're full of uncertainty and doubt. What do I do?
Yes.
And it's like, oh, welcome to your new playground.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Um, Beautifully put. I think the metaphor, it's a wonderful metaphor of the house and the rooms that have been closed off to you. It reminds me of the Johari window.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
familiar with that. So the
yeah,
opening of, like, there's 4 boxes for those who aren't familiar with it, and the central box is what's known to you and others. There's a box of blind spots, things I'm not aware of, which is why being with a horse and getting feedback from people is so useful. And there's the things that I know about myself that I don't share with other people. And the way to build connection is to share more.
yeah,
So I love the metaphor of the house, and something you said about the experience was similar to reconnecting with parts of yourself that you didn't know were there.
yes,
Is that right?
yes,
Such a powerful experience.
yeah. I um, I refer to myself as the accidental horse guy. Lisa's always been the horse person, and yet, um, much like walking into that house as a teenager, and dealing with folks grieving the loss of their son and their friend, I do find that I have something to offer with the horses that I did not know I had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've actually had one of our horses, fall asleep on my chest with her head against me, and I mean that's years of work on my part. But beyond that, to somehow break through that threshold of predator and prey in that moment was just unbelievable to me. It's one of my life's great achievements, strangely enough.
Could you clarify when you said it was represented years of work for you? Was the work the allowing the horse to rest his head on you? Is that what that was?
Or just, yes, and becoming aware of all of my own resistances, fears, doubts, insecurities, and being at home with all of those things.
Mm,
And so when the horse approaches me, he's approaching someone who's relatively undefended.
yes, lovely. And I just want to highlight, Dan, that sounds like there's two levels here. One was that you discovered something within yourself about the ability to help people deal with their grief. At the same time that you discovered there was something within you that enabled you to do this work through horses.
Yes, yes. And I didn't know much about either one of those two.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, so you've shared so much about your own use of self and how the inner work that you needed to do this work. So let me ask Lisa if you'd be willing to share, what is the inner work that you've needed to do to enable you to do this work?
Oh boy. Wow. That's really big.
If it's too, oops, are you still
Because,
there?
yeah, can you hear me?
There was a glitch. Yes,
Oh,
and so share as much as you want. I realize it's a big topic, but you just
yeah.
choose what you want to share.
Well, I think in my own development as a leader, I was very good at understanding the goals for the organization and then how to implement. I could see the connection very, very quickly. I understood patient care and how to get maximal outcomes. But be honest, as a leader, I shared less and less and less. I thought, what if I come across as this bumbling idiot that I was when I was growing up? And, what if my insecurities come out and people don't believe me or trust me? So I really think, all of that part that Dan was describing, I was working very well to shutting it down so I wouldn't be found out to be a fool.
Mm, mm,
And then right around the time Dan and I met over 30 years ago, which was in an authentic leadership workshop. That's when I got to see this glimpse of, no, wait a minute. As a leadership grows and develops, they become more transparent. That was wild to me. And
mm,
so then I was just eating it up. Like, well, I've got a lot that I'd love to be transparent with, but how will that work? And it's really worked well. It's been a surprise, but really, again, when I worked with my own leaders and encouraged them to do the same thing, then I knew we were onto something.
mm.
Be open, be transparent, tell the truth, be wrong, let yourself be wrong. And
Mm.
yeah, and so it was fun to develop it in me, but also with others that that out of that 150, there were about 10 leaders I worked with really closely. And so it was really fun to mentor people toward a different way of leading.
It's so beautifully stated. And I was watching your hands as you did that, and it looked like initially you had a sense of closing, which
Right.
is I better not let people know, that I'm an imposter, that I don't know how to do, and then sort of this opening up, kind of like a flower open, where
Yeah.
you realize for yourself and for leaders to be most effective, it is the opening up about
Yeah.
our vulnerabilities, right?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
beautiful. Well, let me ask you. So I've posed my questions. Is there any question that one of you would like to pose to the other one? There may not be, just asking.
Hmm.
Dan, I have a question for you.
Hmm.
And that would be, can you explain your connection to the mission of Veterans Equine Alliance?
Hmm. That's a beautiful question. Actually, there have been a lot of beautiful questions on this call.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm a U.S. Army veteran, an ex-paratrooper, and at some point, just a few years ago, Uh, oh, I we watched some show on TV. I think it was a 60-minute special on veterans. But the title of the show was something along the lines of, "So you think we love our veterans?" And it just was a show about how we sort of leave them hanging and we don't
Yes.
follow through. Um, and by the end of the show, I was, that feedback still? Okay.
No, you're good.
By the end of that show, I was just pissed. And my next thought was, we could do something about that. We could
Mm.
actually use our horses to work with veterans following their deployment. And so we talked to veterans groups around the country. Um, they told us that we had to find a way to do it without charging. And so we formed a nonprofit. We've gotten grants and contributions from people who know us. And so we've had Lisa, and we've, thanks mostly to Lisa, we've got these connections with various veterans groups around where we live. And we've had these amazing experiences with our horses. And the horses are unusually drawn to these men and women and their families who come to see us. They will stop what they're doing, grazing in the fields. When a veteran walks into the space, they they immediately stop and walk over and want time with this person in
Oh,
ways that are atypical for how they are with a lot of other people. There's
oh,
something
good.
about the veteran that is immediately attractive to the horses. They're drawn to the vulnerability and the brokenness, I think, that they
Yes.
experience.
Yes. So if anyone's interested in getting more information, it is the Veterans Equine Alliance. That's their
Yes.
website. If
Yep.
anyone's so inclined to give them a donation, I'm sure that would be welcome.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I spoke to two veterans last week, Dan, who are doing wilderness coaching
Yes. Right.
with veterans. So I think our next show should be bringing you all together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
There
So
is
let me
something
ask,
about there is something about working in the natural world
yeah,
that itself is healing.
right.
Whether you're on a wilderness trek or in an open pasture with horses, there's something about nature itself that is healing.
Yes. I
We've
mean,
forgotten that.
well, going back to your earlier metaphor, it's something about reconnecting with the self
Yes. Yeah.
and reconnecting with pieces of ourselves that we either forgot or didn't remember that we have,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
there a question you'd like to ask Lisa, Dan?
Oh, I don't know.
If not, that's fine.
I don't. Yeah. I don't really. I don't have.
Can I answer the question?
Sure.
I'm playing. But one thing I wanted to mention, because Abby, of your reference right now to nature, during a horse session, Dan and I work together. One of us is the lead coach with the individual, and the other one is the support person in the background. When I'm the support person, I'm particularly drawn to what's happening to the rest of the herd. There are other horses on the property. What are they doing during the session? What other elements of nature are showing up? So when a cat comes up to the client and sits on their leg, well, what's that about? When a hawk appears, when an eagle appears, we've had two bald eagles show up
Hmm.
to the same person twice, and they do not live in the area of the farm.
Wow.
What brought them in? What was that learning about? So we try to pay attention beyond here's the person, here's the horse. What other elements of nature are showing up?
Our notion is that our soul can speak to us from anywhere.
Mm. Oh my
So,
gosh.
so trees, birds, cats, other horses, rivers, wind, all of
Deer.
those are alive and conscious and aware of us
Right.
and communicate with us.
So it's again reconnecting with our soul
Yeah.
Right.
and having the sort of antennae out there for
Yes.
where is all of that information residing and coming from? Am I aware of it such that I can?
Yeah.
That's right.
And then
Yeah.
Lisa, something. So the birds show up. This is this is obvious to to organizational development people, but this idea about looking at the entire system. Where are there other sources of energy in the system? What's
Yeah.
the message they're telling
Yes.
us? How do we embrace the system in order
Yeah.
to achieve a goal, move forward, accomplish whatever we're trying to accomplish?
And the
Yeah,
system and the system itself has a voice. It has a perspective.
Love that.
And
and I like to dial into Abby. I I have a book that tells me aspects of what animals offer spiritually, but sometimes the animal's not in the book, and so I'll just Google it. What is the spiritual meaning of? And when that comes in, we might run it by the client. Here's what eagle means. Here's what hawk means. Does that resonate with you? So to your point, it's other parts of the system are showing up. What meaning, if any, is apparent to the client in that moment?
Right.
Um,
And
because I'd hate to miss it,
right.
you know?
Do you also ask the client directly, what's the meaning for you that these two eagles just showed up?
mhm,
Mhm.
Right.
yep,
Because we are sense making people.
That's
yep.
Well,
right.
this has been
Yeah.
such a delightful conversation. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been
Mhm.
great.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
what are you leaving here with? What are you each leaving here with?
Mm, mm,
I've just had a group of geese fly over just above my window. I could hear them. Um, so thank you. I leave with just a renewed commitment to the work
Mm.
that we're doing. We're headed down to see the horses in just a few minutes, and I'm excited to see what happens today.
And I would add that as the geese passed your window, Dan, then they flew over the driveway. And what they remind me of is
Mm.
community. And so, Abby, I want to thank you for inviting us to be with you today. Your questions have been
Mm.
beautiful. And I feel exhilarated that here another brilliant individual as yourself was even open to talking about coaching with
Mm.
horses. So, thank
Well, thank you. Absolutely. So I think we're going to have a follow up with the other people.
you. Okay.
Yes. It has been delightful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
All right.
both.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye.